Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Sorry about that, everyone. Had to send a little preemptive text to a work colleague, letting them let it be known, that I will not be into work, given the fact that our beautiful podcast is back this beautiful Wednesday morning, just 10 after the hour of 10 a.m. in the morning.
How are you doing this morning, Everest?
I'm exhausted. As I explained to Aidan, had a very late night doing some work, not as a result of, procrastinating and having it all get pushed forward, but I just kind of got into like a swing of work, and I just over pushed it. Something was due today that I also was kind of, finished off, but man, I overdid it last night big time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I know that feeling, buddy.
And I got work today, it feels like, Christmas, it's the calm time of the year, it's the happy time, but for the last 4 years, 5 years even, it's not been that. It's been like the final compression of everything, going on.
Yeah, and it's just, if they hit you with the daylight saving or whatever, and
Yeah.
like my sleep cycle's been absolutely screwy because it's going dark at like 4 p.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This episode is also brought to you. Yellow car.
Punch buggy on my
Frig, man.
my
See,
lock screen there.
Aidan and I used to play the game where we drive a lot together for work.
Yeah.
And we'd see these cars. Yellow is one punch. If it's a yellow punch buggy, it's two. If it's a regular punch buggy, it's also one. But he's got a damn good strike. I'll just let that be known. As I was saying, this episode's brought to you by my terrible hairdo.
Mine as well, dude.
Yeah.
My last two.
That's my hairdo dance song.
Okay, I like
Yeah.
that. My last two haircuts were done by my roommate Lila, and I thought she did a pretty good job, but I just haven't had one in like 6 months,
Yeah, but yours looks good at like every stage. Like, you get a fresh cut.
I don't know,
It looks-
man. You see those
No.
pictures of me in grade 9 where I had the...
Hey, the cowlick, you know what I mean?
Oh,
Like,
yeah, okay.
When you get like that long cowlick, that's my favorite. I like that. Yeah.
I just want to switch gears a little bit and apologize in case someone's doing a midterm review today, or just to our listeners in general. There's construction right outside us. He's using a quick cut saw to cut concrete or something. I can hear it right now. Angle grinder, something like that.
Oh yeah, that is pretty annoying. Eh?
Yeah.
I was kind of fine-tuned into what's.
I
in
kind of
front
want
of
to
me, but
pop off on a bit of a tangent here.
yeah, go please.
So, in New York, right, 20s and 30s, there was like way too many cab drivers, right? Like everybody with a car was just like, I'm a cab driver. It's kind of like Uber, So, people were getting into like almost like drug dealer fights. 'Cause they're
Yeah.
like, this is my territory, and like the prices were so low that nobody could live off of what they were making and stuff like that.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Yeah, I feel like that represents them well.
Yeah. That surprised me. That scared me.
Yeah. Sorry.
But anyway, so they implemented this thing called the taxi chip. So they said, okay, there can only be 500 drivers, and you can only be a taxi driver if you have a taxi chip. So now today, a taxi chip is worth like $250,000 because there's only a certain amount of them, and that's the maximum amount of taxis allowed to be in New York.
That's still like enforced.
Still enforced.
Okay.
And that's why people are pissed at Uber, right? Because the taxi driver's like, I have to buy a
Right.
chip, this guy doesn't. Whatever. My suggestion is that I think Toronto needs to implement chips for construction sites. Because everywhere there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 construction sites all flanking me, and there's never anybody there. Like this, half the road outside of me here has been closed for 5 years.
Yeah.
Nobody can park out front of it.
Yeah. And it just is starting to like, they just cut the ribbon. You know what I mean? Like
They just cut the ribbon,
opened
but it's just like the construction will stop like at one part of the street and start like a block down. Like there used to be at Jarvis and Dundas, there were on both sides of the streets condos going up, and they finished both of them, and then they started a new one. So I
Right.
know construction permits are a thing, and you have to be like okayed by the city to start construction.
Yeah.
But I think it should be like a situation where they limit the number so that A, the construction project actually get finished, like the companies are incentivized to finish the project.
Right, because majority of the time too, they're pushed over 6 months with
Yeah,
that
they
much more
get
extra
delayed,
cost.
and
Yeah.
you see all like there's just no one there. Like they had half of Dundas Street closed all of last summer. I was taking the streetcar down every day, and like I took it down at like 9:30 in the morning, and took it back like 4:35, 5:30, depending on when Danny told me to go home.
Right.
never once saw a soul on that construction site.
No, it's bare.
Bare.
They're bare, empty. Like, there's one that's been going on King. It's more of like a reconstruction of an older building. But they've been in this single stage. Like, the foundation's been redone, everything's like, but they've been in this one stage of putting up like a plaque wall that is supposed to be like act as a support system for this new wall that they're building. It's taken them like 6 months to lay down a few layers of like concrete. You know what I mean? Just in terms of like the actual concrete blocking for that wall. They've been doing it for months, and I only see like a couple guys there in the early mornings when it should be at its busiest, or ideally its busiest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems like, and like again, like who are we? You know, because like I'm not a construction worker.
Well, I was gonna say I did work construction.
That's what I was gonna say too. But
Yeah.
who am I? Who are we? Who am I? But you are able to speak on.
And we
this.
were like genuinely busy. When we started a project, we would finish it in a reasonable amount of time.
Yes.
And we wouldn't take on a new client until we were done. You know, like that's my thing, is that I feel like there's probably 4 construction companies in all of Toronto that are doing all of the construction.
Right.
They need to stop saying yes to new projects and starting them and then abandoning them.
Well, and it's not an action that's based on like a want for job creation either, because they're obviously it's not full. It's not being worked on 24/7 with multiple hands.
Yeah.
So it's not a matter of like, oh, making more money by taking on these new projects so that we can pay more or make more, therefore pay more to our employees, because nobody's there. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, I don't know. Like, what are like excuses for that? Do you think though?
I think it's just corporate greed. I think they're just taking on more projects than they can realistically work on.
Right, and
You
like
know?
taking them on for the future hope of like it not getting taken from them.
Yeah,
assuming that
exactly.
they're going to finish on time,
Yeah.
it never happens or rarely does.
So I think they should say, okay, there can only be 25 construction sites in Toronto at a given time.
Yeah.
And you need to finish before you start something else. That's my 2 cents. Because it's ridiculous. I can't drive anywhere in Toronto. I can't walk
No.
anywhere in Toronto
For more
without
than 2
encountering
minutes.
without encountering several construction sites.
Yeah.
Not even for more than 2 minutes. What are you talking about?
Well, and I also
You know?
think too, like if you think about like Dufferin, for example.
Yeah.
Right? Or, is it Dufferin? What's that street leading up to Dufferin by the one that's always under construction when we drive in? Still,
Lawrence and Dufferin?
I think it's Lawrence, and yeah, if it's
Lawrence?
It might be Lawrence. Under extreme construction, like 24/7. Every time I drive to work, like I'd have to accompany for possibly potholes. Like this one, like I popped when I was driving my dad's car. I popped my tires on construction sites just because, like, there's a lack of people or signs there to let you know what's actually going on.
Yeah.
And like whether that's a cause of just bad management, or like you said, not having the right amount of people there
Yeah.
on purpose. It's just overall terrible. And I get what you're saying, and I do agree with you. Do you think that would be like more expensive? Do you think like they thought about implementing something like that, like a chip system?
Oh no, probably. It's probably just the loudest voice in the room was the construction company that was going to lose out on these jobs, right?
True. Yeah.
And I guess too, then you'd have a backlog of these projects. Like you'd have 3 or 4 years into the future these projects that were planned, but that's already the way it is. Like
Right.
that. My parking lot has things up saying a change is proposed for this site.
Yeah. Well, and one thing I noticed too is, a lot of apartment buildings, when they're done, the parking lots will be like bought out for months before anybody starts living there. So like I noticed this kind of thing with every new apartment that's built close to where I live. People start flooding into the parking lot and start buying up the passes.
What the hell was with your parking lot, man? I tried. Okay, so Everest has been. I'm going to say this on the internet.
Yeah,
It's
go
okay.
for it.
Everest has been parking there.
Indigo parking.
Don't say where it is. They're going to say whatever.
Dude, I guarantee you the security.
Yeah.
I have to say, there's got to be one security guy that watches. Like, he's working just coincidentally at the same hours that I'm coming home every time from work. And I always give kind of like a tip of my hat to the camera when I walk out, because I feel like, I've established this relationship with the security guard. He's letting me park there for a longer period. You know what I mean?
Everest shouldn't be parking there. That's what I'm saying.
No.
So during the coronavirus pandemic, our boss was like, hey, I'll pay for your guys' parking. So I reach out to this company and I'm like, we want to park in this parking lot where he was already parking. This is our make, model, and plate. And he's like, okay, it'll be $400 a month, which is like half of my rent. You know?
That's ridiculous.
I'm like, whatever, company's footing the bill, sure. And then I look at the form, and the form says no overnight parking. Like, what the hell? What good is a parking lot if you can't park overnight?
I don't.
And then I message him, and I'm like, hey, man, what the hell? And he's like, none of our units allow for overnight parking.
That's so ridiculous, and I feel like not true, because there's people overnight parking there all the time. Yes, yeah.
But,
yeah.
like, I feel like part of the reason that you've gotten away with it for so long, like, this is my theory, is that the meter maids just work during the day, right?
Yeah.
So you're gone by the time they show up, and then you're back after they've already left.
Yeah.
You know?
It really works out. And do you want to know the funniest thing? This is sketchy, okay? So, like, for me / us in the line of work that we're doing, like, we're university kids, like, we're squeezing out, most amount of drops of juice that we can in terms of not having to pay for stuff. My manager, one time, I was walking down into the parking lot to go to work. My manager at my hotel building was like, Ev, thanks a lot for the tip on the garage, man. Like, I let him know. I was like, Evan, I know our garage is very tiny. There's a garage just down the street, like 30 seconds, that lets you park there. Or not lets you, but you get not a lot of tickets down there. He's like, oh, okay, great, thanks for the tip. They started parking their valet down there. So when they're like when they have too many, they have like 6 spaces in their actual parking lot in the building. When those 6 spaces are filled up, they start bringing the cars to that parking lot. And they don't even pay for it. They don't even, like, Evan, like, oh, I should not have used his first name. They don't even tap, like, or they don't even
you're
pay.
so bad at this, man. You get the first name and the company where you're parking.
Man, I feel like, you know what I'm worried about? This is my fear. I'm worried that they have been tallying every time that I've stayed there on the cameras with the plate number, and they're just, like, building up this credit bill. You know what I mean? Of, like, every time that I've stayed there and adding up all this charge. That's, like, what I lose sleep over at night.
The car's not registered.
No, I know, but they're just going to come to Danny one time. Danny's going to text me a photo of, like, a friggin' $4,000 bill. Be like, hey, man, what's this for? Or, like, a lawsuit or something.
So I've enjoyed my time working for you, and
yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much
glad
for
this
the
wasn't
opportunity.
under contract.
Yeah.
God, that's funny, man. But yeah, like, honestly though, like, kudos to that parking lot, because I think you're right though. I do agree with you. Like, I think it's just I'm gone during the days. My schedule for the few days that I do park there during the school year is pretty.
I think it helps too that it looks like a bit of a commercial van.
It does.
And you always park in front of, like, the maintenance door.
Yeah, I park.
So, like, I
same
feel
spot
like
every time.
it looks like it's supposed to be there. You know?
Yeah, and I park closest to the front just in case,
And it's not a place where you, like, print out a ticket and put it on the dash. It's one of those ones where you, like, pay with an app.
Yeah.
Which is also kind of ridiculous because you have no cell reception down there and there's no Wi-Fi.
It's really, really weird, man.
I hate that, man. That's all in Toronto. Like, I'm just standing like an idiot in a parking lot trying to download an app to pay for parking.
Yeah.
And then I go in and I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here for, an hour. Like, when we went to go buy your computer parts, which will transition into our next thing.
Just wanted to say that was like, I was wondering if you were going to transition with that.
Yeah.
That would have been.
But we went to Canada Computers and I'm standing around in this parking lot and I have to download this stupid app. And then, like, there's like Apple Pay and PayPal and things that'll, like, automatically like, oh, this is how you're paying. No, it makes me stand there and enter my credit card info. Like, I'm just standing there, like, with my credit card out, punching it into my phone, like. And then you press pay, and then you walk down, like, just onto the sidewalk, and you see that there's an actual, like, green meter, like the really easy one to use right beside, like. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Do you want to do your computer stuff? Or you want to talk about Christmas for a bit?
Let's talk about computer, because that's like my Christmasness money put into. Okay. I'm sorry, I can't talk. That is my Christmas funding put into my,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start out.
Yeah, please.
So, I see you pretty much every Wednesday now. You come over here, we do our thing, we hang out for a bit, and then, I FaceTime you Tuesday night, we figure out the plan, then I see you again Wednesday. 2 shows ago, we're setting up all the equipment, we're putting the camera away, we're taking the lights down, all that stuff, and we're talking about options for a new computer for you.
Yeah.
Because he has a MacBook Air with 4 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage, and he's trying to edit in Premiere.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like if my brothers were watching, they just went, oof. Like, can you find an oof?
I know. I was going to look for me for that, but it was locked.
let's yeah, that's what that is.
Shout out Graham and Nolan.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, you got one option. We just buy monitors for your laptop, and you can kind of, that's going to make your performance worse. So don't do that, but cheap. The other option is get a new MacBook, get a new eGPU, but there's that big, like, Apple ARM transition that just happened.
Yeah.
Anybody out there, if you just bought a MacBook, return it, because your MacBook's going to be paperweight in about 5 years. And then last was we build you like a desktop PC. That's kind of the most bang for the buck, option. He's like, yeah, okay, let's do it.
Like literally just like, yeah.
You're like, okay, yeah. So like that day,
Aiden's like, all right, man. And I could tell as soon as I was kind of like, yeah, I'm down. Like, this is Aidan and Hayden's stuff. And just so you guys, like, for you listeners that don't know me like well or at all even, like I'm
gonna prove a point here.
Yeah.
So like me and Hayden are very techie. The way that like our dads were with like cars and stuff, where there's just like carburetors on a shelf somewhere,
Yeah.
This wasn't planned. This wasn't staged. I just looked to my right and saw it. There's just a video card.
Just
right there.
Out.
It's a 760 GTX 760, just sitting out. Like there's a power supply right there. It's just that's how we are. So we were pretty excited to help you build your PC.
Yeah, like I was like, yeah, I'm down, and Aiden's like, all right, like we're buying your computer today, just ready for it. And I that was kind of like I needed like, because this is the thing, like, I wasn't confident with any of my knowledge relating to like any actual like PC building. Like for some tech stuff, like I know my way around certain areas, but in general, like not at all, especially with anything regarding PC. So I needed Aidan and Hayden's help as much as friggin' possible. In addition to,
again,
like
asking for your financial support.
Like I needed that.
That was a good sound.
Well timed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like that, it was difficult, and especially like going into the shop and talking to the guy about all the products and like each piece of it. You know what I mean? Like there was a massive learning curve to be had, like even with your guys' help.
Yeah.
So once we decided, we were going to do it, we left that afternoon, went to Canada Computers.
Yeah, we bought a AMD Ryzen 5 2600, 32 gigs of RAM because you're video editing. A GTX 1660. I don't know if it's a Ti. Is it a Ti?
I think it's a Ti.
It's a Ti.
It's an XI or something.
Yeah.
If that's a thing.
1 terabyte NVMe SSD. Just kind of a cheap gigabyte motherboard, cheapest one they had. Cheap case, cheapest one they had.
And the great thing is that I would not let myself purchase something like this, like in any realm, like mechanical, like computer technology, whatever. I wouldn't let myself invest in something like that unless I were to be also investing in like the knowledge pertaining to it and around it. So I know what all those things mean, and it's great. Whereas before, like I just feel like the last week has been like a friggin' explosion into a different universe of knowledge for me.
Yeah.
And I thank you both for that again.
And we were watching some Papa Linus to learn about it. All praise be to the algorithm.
Holy crap, man! Like computer technologies, it's a sensitive area of like hardware and software, you could say. But my God, man, like you really gotta force them in there. Like when we're setting the hard drives in and putting the graphics card or the RAM, and putting the graphics card in and everything. Like I was shocked at like you actually it's like a vehicle, it's like a machine. You really gotta just put it together. And
I think the thing that freaks people out too is how much the motherboard flexes when you put the RAM in. Like it bends a little bit.
Yeah,
That's okay.
Yeah,
it's supposed to do that.
Now I know
That's
why
okay.
you insist on hardware or insist on ultra durable.
Yeah.
That's what comes up with Gigabyte when I open my PC. I thought you'd like
well,
that,
clearly that's not very true, because the next part of our story is
that
we put it all together and fired her up, installed Windows, installed Google Chrome, installed Valve Steam, and then we go into the BIOS and we tweak some settings. Nothing. Like no boot screen, anything, just the TV saying no signal.
This meme's called "You got stick bugged," LOL. So I hope it was saying we got stick bugged. But that's what we got.
We did get stick bugged.
Yeah.
So we didn't know what the hell happened. I didn't see you again for another week. The computer was like here, dead, and me and Hayden were trying some like dire. And
I was feeling terrible. It's like we had like 3. We also got 4 PCs or 4 screens monitors from Danny, our boss, too.
Yeah.
bunch of wires. Like I felt bad because we had like this whole like operation kind of took over the living room for the week.
I
pretty
don't.
much.
We didn't care. That's like, well, like here, prove my point.
I know it's because
You know?
that's because you guys are sweethearts.
So yeah, but we tried that graphics card, and I think that's why it's out.
Yeah.
You know, still nothing. We tried the RAM from my desktop, still nothing.
Yeah.
So we take it back to Canada Computers, and we're like, oh, we don't know what's going on. And it's like, that's probably just dead on arrival. That happens. And I'm like, well, that sucks. So he's like, yeah, so we can either diagnose it and take it apart and fix it for you guys. That'll be $50. Or you guys can put everything back in the boxes, and then I'll exchange it for you. And I'm like, okay. We drove 40 minutes to a Canada Computers up north that would have free parking.
Are you delusional? Do you suffer from a mental illness?
Okay.
Yeah, we drove 40 minutes.
We drove 40 minutes for free
We're
parking.
delusional.
So we're in the parking lot in the back of my Nissan Sentra, Graham's Nissan Sentra, and we're taking apart this computer we just built for you in the parking lot with like the tools we had were not the right tools.
No, we had
either.
like one screwdriver. Aiden's like, oh, we need a screwdriver. I was like, I got one in my backpack. That's like
It's like a big Princess Auto one with those thick handles that has all the bits in it.
Yeah, it's got a wrenching on it.
So,
like,
you know, when you're dealing with a computer, it's all these tiny little screws, and you've got this big, like, mechanics
clunky
hardware
ass
wrench.
Bags are flying around. I'm trying to
Yeah.
put stuff, because at this point I wasn't 100% sure of like what everything was and where it went. I'm trying to put stuff back in the boxes.
The wind's blowing.
Wind's
and parts
flying
of these
around,
boxes
and the
are flying
freaking
around.
caps are coming off of stuff, and
Yeah.
it was getting nuts out there.
Oh, yeah.
But thank God for Aiden. We got it disassembled.
Exchanged it. The guy, this is the best Canada Computers service I've ever had. You know, like, I've tried to return things. Canada Computers is an awful company, okay? Just terrible. Do not recommend. Like, I am like, you know, for small business, you know, don't buy stuff from Amazon. Buy computer parts from Amazon. Okay? You listening to me? Do that, because Canada Computers is just god-awful.
Yep.
So this guy was amazing. You know, we didn't have all the parts for the motherboard, so he just took them off of the new motherboard, because he's like, well, are they at home? And we're like, yeah. And he's like, okay, you don't need them then. He moved them onto the old motherboard so that he could return it and his boss would be happy.
Freaking
And we're like,
legend.
dude, you're a saint. He's like, Canada Computer generally like not go home and get it. I remember we were missing one screw when I was returning my water cooler. The water
Okay.
cooler was defective. Like, they were just going to throw it in a dumpster
But they were giving you heck over one screw?
over one screw. One time I got a little toolkit from them, and it stripped immediately. Like, immediately, like the Phillips bit stripped. So I take it back.
Play-Doh.
Yeah, just like cheap zinc, you know, screw bit or whatever. And the guy's like, oh, that's weird. And he takes out the bits, and he grabs a pair of pliers, and he starts doing this to see how easily they strip. He's like, oh yeah, that does strip pretty easy. And then he wouldn't take it back because it was damaged. And we asked to speak to the manager. He's like, oh, I am the manager.
Oh my God.
Like, it was just
man.
awful. Like, 0 out of 10. Like, terrible. And, you know, my big military dad was with me at
Yeah.
the time. You know, it wasn't like I was some punk 13-year-old asking
Like,
for his money back. You
yeah.
know? Like, I had an adult with me, and he was still like, nah.
What the hell,
Yeah.
man? Manager at Canada Computers, I feel like.
This was also the one in Orleans.
I didn't even know they had one in Orleans.
Yeah, they have one in Orleans. Orleans is
Like, I
a
shouldn't be
suburb of Ottawa.
Yeah, I shouldn't be surprised, but
It's on Trim Road. I don't know. It was near where me and Zach lived.
yeah,
Yeah.
good golfing ranges out there. Some good
Yeah?
ranges. Yeah, there's one or two there.
Oh yeah, I know the one. There's one by the highway there.
Yeah, just right close to
That was
the
like
on-ramp.
that was the thing I do. Grandpa, miss you. We used to go to that one by the highway there. Me and my dad and my grandpa would go and play every time my grandpa was in town.
That's awesome.
There was also in
Grandpa got a
Navan.
good swing. Where do you get your? Because
I
you
think
tell
me
me,
and-
Aiden says he's got a little pretty good swing. You know, I heard you like the driving range.
I like the driving range. I don't like actually playing golf.
No,
No.
but you only need a good swing for the driving
Yeah.
range, so that's fine.
I'd say like me and my grandpa are pretty comparable. Like I think it was kind of like, okay, who's gonna buy the other one a Coke? You know, at the end.
yeah,
You know, like,
yeah. Love it.
He's probably better now. I think he's been doing it a lot lately. Yeah, so we get the parts home. We slap it together in 5 minutes, and it just powers on again. So it's dead motherboard and CPU.
Yeah.
And then, you know, we're installing Windows, and it keeps blue screening. So we go back into the BIOS and we turn off fast memory, which is a bummer because you bought fast memory.
Yeah, that. Yeah, that's. Might have to get a new motherboard. Like a better one.
I don't think it's the motherboard. I think it's the RAM, if anything.
Yeah. Get better RAM.
It's possible that he didn't sell you 3200 megahertz. That's why it was cheaper.
Yes, stupid bastard.
Yeah, but
yeah, like the reason I wanted to get, like I've wanted a PC build for a while. Like I'd go over to a lot of friends' houses. Even in high school, I saw friends that had PCs, and I just really, the way I like find I learn and want to learn, I like having that kind of hub of just where everything that you do gets done in terms of work in one space, or like on one actual computer. I just felt like it was something missing from my life, and since like
as you know, I'm kind of a gamer.
like I wanted it to do that as well.
I'm glad I gave you the iPad.
I thought this was a mistake because like I'm having fun on this, but I wanted it for gaming partially just because I had a lot of friends that game and it looks really fun. But just for work, man, just to be able to have that one area where everything can kind of just, I can be aware of everything that's going on all at once visually.
Transition to our moment of triumph here.
Oh yeah. Oh, is that it? Did you take a picture when we finished?
Hold up, I need to do. Apparently that doesn't work. Okay, sure.
Yeah, I wanted to be able to have my email open while I'm doing this on like my Ryerson, while I'm working on an assignment. While
Sorry,
I'm
everybody, you're looking at a very
render.
terrible rendition here.
Well, I'm the Joker, baby.
There you are. See?
Well, yeah.
And we still have stuff set up from Hoser. We still have like the tripods still up.
Yeah.
But you're very happy.
Yeah, it was.
And your computer's there working. You got Windows going.
And I'm about to fry it with static electricity.
Yeah, your sock is very close to it there.
It's like very close on the carpet.
Yeah.
Damn. Man, Kate. So I don't know how many of our listeners have built a PC. Honestly, if there's only 2 listeners, it's most likely 100% of them have built a PC because it's
Graham and Nolan.
But like the significance of actually wearing the blue grounder for the static,
I think it's like non-existent.
Is it just for like oh, I feel safe. Whew.
Yeah,
like,
I think
we're
that's
okay.
mostly
Like
it, yeah.
my $2,000 isn't going down the drain.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's kind of one of those things. Maybe not quite the same, but like using jack stands.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like I've seen a lot of people just not use jack stands.
Yeah.
And they make it through, or not wearing eye goggles when you're using an angle grinder.
Oh my god. Yeah, like that freaking guy out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, like I don't wish any ill will upon anyone, but some like if for some reason like some of that grind was to fly close enough to his eye that it would be irritating to him to a point where he'd have to go home for the day, that'd be okay. I'd be fine with that as long as he wasn't injured. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd be okay if he.
And if he could qualify for some workman's comp.
Yeah, that's a plus too. Get on that EI.
Yeah. Yep.
Our world's in a bucket of crap right now, man.
Oh, we're going into lockdown again for sure.
You think so?
Oh no, there's no way it's not happening, bro.
I think like
no way.
I've been kind of getting this. Like, I'm expecting what you just said.
Yeah.
But like I've been kind of getting this. Like everybody's kind of talking about the 95% like success rate vaccine. Blah blah blah. Apparently vaccines are making some headway, and I'm usually not like an optimist with this sort of thing, because history repeats itself. But
well, I was watching a thing that said that so like doesn't matter if there's a vaccine or not. The big thing is going to be getting the vaccine to everyone.
Right.
Because the vaccines apparently they need very specific temperatures in order to ship.
Right. Yes.
They need to be within a range of like 2 degrees or whatever.
Also similar to the virus. Did you know the virus can like barely survive in UV light? Even faux UV processed UV light on
it's
natural
like a
UV
UV
light.
lamp?
Yeah, like it can't even survive under that. Like it can't do anything in UV, and in extremely cold temperatures it does not thrive. Like it almost 50% slower than it would naturally.
Then why does it spike in the winter?
I have no idea. That's why I was confused. So
because you think winter is cold season. I'm assuming
Exactly.
coronavirus is similar to like the flu and stuff.
Because apparently it had to do with like indoors, which I don't agree with because that like the majority of cases of it transferring is in giant crowds of people. But apparently cold temperatures and sunlight are not good for it.
Huh.
Yeah.
Modern problems require modern solutions.
That would have been a good sound for when we were taking the computer apart in the backseat of my Sentra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
damn it.
Yeah.
I just discovered that one. I think that's the case. If I'm mistaken, I wouldn't be totally surprised. But that's what I read. Sunlight especially can really mess it up.
Yeah. Okay, I want to shift gears a little bit because we're running out of time.
Yeah.
I want to talk about
flying, eh?
Christmas this year.
Yeah. As you can
My
hear-
mom just texted me that I'm getting my Christmas present soon. It's coming here, shipped to Toronto.
Oh, she's shipping it to Toronto?
Yeah.
That's pretty sweet.
I know what it is.
Whoa. You lucky bastard.
Yeah.
What is it?
So there's this kind of like self-feeding cycle in our apartment where my roommates fill the fridge, and because the fridge is full, I fill the freezer. Because the freezer is full, they fill the fridge. You know?
Mm-hmm.
So most of the stuff that's in the freezer is mine. Most of the stuff that's in the fridge is theirs.
Right.
And it's always full.
Okay.
So I was joking with my parents like, yeah, I want a freezer for Christmas. You know, like a little chest freezer.
Yeah.
The problem with those is that like we're in a cramped Toronto apartment, and most of them are like open with a lid, you know, so you can't put anything on top of them. They kind of need that much floor space, you know. Like,
Right.
So she found this one. I'm gonna try and see if I can pull up the link. She was just going to send it to me, but she thought it'd be better if I ran it past the roommates first because it's a big appliance, you know.
She could do a friggin' fridge.
She's shipping us a freezer.
Oh,
cute little
that's
freezer.
sick.
And it's this cute little kind of retro futuristic. Here, I'll switch to this so you guys can see.
Do you want to see the most illegal thing I own?
That will be what you say to people when that comes.
When this clumps.
Yeah.
Look at it, it's adorable, isn't it?
Dude, okay, that's actually
Isn't it cool? It looks like an
sweet.
old school like Coke like 1950s.
Yeah.
But the reason it's neat is because it makes good use of vertical space, right? So it doesn't have like, it's only 21
what are the
inches by
dimensions?
2 feet or something like that, but it's 5 feet tall. So you can put stuff on top of it because it doesn't like open like this,
Right.
you know. But it also just doesn't take up a lot of floor space and it makes good use of
Oh,
vertical
that's
space.
wicked.
Which
Where?
I think we're putting it over there at the end of the stairs, maybe. I might put it in my room in front of the mirror.
I think the stairs would be sick.
I think that'd be pretty cool. I think it'll look good there.
Or you don't got enough space in that closet, for. No, that's stock.
No, and it's also a power situation, right? There's no power in that corner, so we're gonna have to run an extension cord somewhere.
Oh my gosh. Just a quick note on power extensions. Cal and I had to like put up 100-foot cable, LAN cable, to Wayne's desk from Danny's office on the roof, with like regular paper staples.
Like an Ethernet cable?
Yeah.
With staples.
Yeah. That was so fun. The way you cough was hilarious. Can I tell you this though? So like I'm trying not to puncture, right? But the friggin' cable is like a quarter centimeter thinner than the actual width of the staple.
I want to find a clip. You keep talking.
I was stapling and like I was like, hey, I'm not gonna I can't puncture this friggin' line, right? Like I don't want to, I punctured the damn thing twice. I must have put about 30, 40 staples in that friggin' ceiling. But yeah, man, I just kind of played it off with Calvin. I was like, well, this material of the staple better be a good capacitor for the friggin' electricity, a good conductor, not capacitor. Pardon me. We're just adding little ionic conductors to the wire. Like that's kind of how I was thinking.
This
about
isn't
it.
exactly the scene I was looking for, but it's the right movie anyway.
Oh, Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah,
I
because
love
he's
it.
up on the ceiling.
He's
He's up on the roof,
what
and
it
he's
was
just
like, man.
he's using like literal staples to
Yeah.
staple it together. And I
Remember
remember
when he falls and they're kind of like bing, 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 bing.
Yeah.
They just go, broop. That's literally what happened
That-
one time with the ceiling.
that movie is pretty much our like one standing Christmas tradition is that we always watch National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation.
Yeah.
And I always love it because I've been watching it since I was a little kid, so obviously there was jokes flying over my head.
Right.
But because those jokes fly over your head when you're little, even when you're older, you don't clue into them, you know?
Right, yeah.
Just because you're used to them.
You just like
So
hear
every
the sound.
So every time I see it, I get like a new joke. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a dirty joke, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
Dude, the scene with him and the lady, like, he has like that like affiliation for that lady, the red
Oh,
And
yeah.
she's like in the mall, and she's like showing him his underwear, and then his son walks up, and he's like, oh, Dad. He's like, isn't that great, Russ? And then he like turns back and realizes that it's that dude.
Yeah.
That movie's just hilarious,
Oh.
man. But I didn't get
Anyways-
this like how kind of bad and like the innuendo that was carrying
Yeah,
with that and that-
80s movies haven't
Yeah.
aged well in that regard, like
Yeah.
I watched a couple of those like old school like college prank ones where they like, prank the sorority girls or whatever, and I'm like, that's just straight up sexual assault, dude.
Oh, I don't even want to ask what the
Yeah.
prank was.
Yeah, I'm not even going
Jeez,
to talk
man.
about it, but going back to National Lampoons, I guess we're on a Christmas topic again.
Yeah. Sorry.
Even like when I was like 6, I'm like, that's a terrible idea. Using staples to staple like 120 volt
Yeah,
wire,
like an actual wire. No.
So I guess Ethernet wouldn't fry anything, wouldn't zap anybody, but that's an expensive cable.
we kind of have like the same. Danny said like it was expensive, but company expensive. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I was worried, man, because like if you put one hole in the beginning of that thing and you're already stapled like halfway, you have to redo everything if it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But on what you were saying, for my family, we kind of have like the same Christmas tradition for a movie, but we watch Elf.
That's a good one. We watched that one too.
Yeah, I feel like Lampoon, but for our families,
Yeah.
like kind of like the country families, I feel like Lampoon's Christmas Vacation and Elf are kind of like the two, Santa Claus 2 is a big one for me.
Oh, I never liked the Santa Claus.
You didn't like
movies.
those ones with
I just don't like.
what's his name?
I just don't like that guy. What's his name?
Everybody, you all know him.
He's the guy from Home Improvement. I never really liked him. Kind of
And
rubbed me the wrong way.
Christmas with the Cranks, he's also in that.
Oh, that was such a bad movie.
Liz, I think this is such a deja vu. I think last year you said that too. during
Yeah.
that thing. And Liz is like, no, it's my favorite movie, so I will come back and support her saying, I actually think that's a pretty funny movie.
I think it's terrible.
It's
so stupid.
It's like bad good.
Oh
You know what I
man.
mean?
Well, it's for me. It's not funny. It's just cringy. It's like hard to watch.
Yeah.
Because bad things keep happening, but they're not funny bad things. They're just bad things. And then, like the whole idea of like we're skipping Christmas this year. I'm like, no, you're not. You're going on a cruise for Christmas.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know? And you're not skipping Christmas.
But for
You're
that to be like the actual theme of the movie, they had to make the town that they were in so freaking like, I was about to
Yeah.
say something bad, but so freaking cultish for Christmas,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious. The Polar
not.
Express. I saw a tweet the other day that read, like, for all yo like mother effers, the Polar Express is a movie literally made about nothing, and we all still love it. Like it's like the best thing we've ever
It's
seen.
about nothing. It's about a train. The train in it.
As the tweet read, I agree, and our response was, regardless of like how you think, like whether you think the movie is actually good or not, or is about something or not, like the actual animation is very nostalgic for people from our generation.
That was one of the only movies that used full mocap.
Is that the one where they cut, like if it's an animation, you can obviously correct me if I'm wrong, they cut a certain like duration of like a millisecond out of like a clip. Let's say someone's like throwing a punch. This is like the same thing they did with Spider-Verse to
No.
make it look like a cut more faster. You know what I mean?
Spider-Verse was more that it was drawing influence from 2D animation, because 2D animation doesn't have motion blur. So when I
Right.
go like this, there's motion blur,
Yeah.
That's not really, because the camera's kind of crap, but 2D animation doesn't have that. 3D animation does, because it's 3D, so it'd be kind of weird if it didn't.
Right.
Spider-Man doesn't have that.
It's 2D.
No, it's 3D, but it doesn't have motion blur.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty sick. Which is the first time that's ever been done before.
Yeah, but it's been a tool in movies for a long time. Like the
Okay.
opening scene to Saving Private Ryan.
What?
They filmed that at a super high shutter speed so that there was less motion blur, so that it had that sense of action and fast paced, and
Yeah, gotcha.
where like an example of something where with super high motion blur, where the shutter speed is very low, would be like Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, when they're all on drugs and they're like,
Yeah.
oh, and everything's
Yeah.
blurry. But my point was that mocap is like where they have actors in a room and they're wearing that suit with all the little light bulbs on it, and
Yeah.
they film them doing that.
Yeah. That's actually really
Because
sick.
there was that one, there was a Mars Need Moms, which I don't like to remember. Everyone forgets about that movie.
Was mocap?
Monster House.
So it wasn't the first time it was used in Polar Express.
I don't think it was the first time, but there was like one studio that's all they did, and they made
Okay.
like 5 movies and then shut down.
Wow.
But like watching them today, you can kind of tell that it's not animation because everything's like a little bit jittery and
It's like,
like freaky looking.
yeah,
like
it is
Uncanny
kind of
Valley.
freaky. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do love that movie though. It's just because here's another thing too, man. People don't really talk. They talk about it, but it's not really prominently known to be the Christmas like movie or movies. Harry Potter, man. Not for the fact that they have a Christmas in every movie, but the fact that every new Harry Potter came out in December, majority of them. So you'd have I remember when I think of the Polar Express, I think of Harry Potter 3. I think of The Prisoner of Azkaban, or is it The Goblet of Fire? It's both of those, actually. Because I think it's Prisoner of Azkaban came out the same Christmas that Polar Express did. I saw the commercials for Polar Express right before or after the commercials for Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban. So, it's just, I kind of immediately associate those two. But did you watch Harry Potter as a kid growing up? Like, are you a Harry Potter kid? Because for me and for everyone else that has watched it when they were young, I feel like Christmas really is like it's like Harry Potter is like a big Christmas thing for me.
I always try to get into it, but I think my thing with it was even at a young age, I'm like, I don't understand the limitations of this magic. You know?
Because it's very limited and looks like they should be able to do so much more.
No, it's because I don't understand what the rules are. You know, like, does it require fuel? The wand require fuel of some sort? Or, like, it just seems like everyone's shooting crap at each other unlimitedly. Like, what makes Harry more powerful than anybody else? They just say Harry is more powerful. What about him is more powerful?
Can I
Does he
tell
have
you?
more fuel? Sure.
Do you want to know?
Yeah.
So, Harry's the first person that's ever survived the killing curse, the killing spell, right?
Okay.
Each wizard, when you go to pick your wand, the wand has to pick you as well. So
Yeah.
certain wands have different properties. Certain wands are ingrained with unicorn hair and dragon heartstring with some pixie dust, whereas some wands are used with 5/4 inch some type of wood infused with this potion. You know what I mean? Like, it's like
Yeah.
different materials make different wands have different characteristics, but the wand chooses the wizard, Mr. Harry, as Ollivander says. The reason Harry is so powerful is because his mother used very old magic to bestow a somewhat curse on him when Voldemort was attacking them, right? Just out of attacking them. When Voldemort tried to kill Harry Potter, okay, Voldemort's a very extremely powerful wizard because wizards show promise at younger ages. The younger you are, the more magic you're showing or displaying, the more powerful you're going to be as age goes on. Voldemort's curse rebounded on Harry, right? Killing part of him. He had split his soul into 7 pieces.
Yeah.
I know you're not. I know you hate this. So the reason Harry is quote unquote more powerful, it's not that he's more powerful whatsoever. Actually, it's because Voldemort is the most powerful evil wizard, and Harry is extremely effective against him because he is literally part of Voldemort. Harry's and Voldemort's wand are connected in a way because of what happened when he was young and that curse rebounding initially. So it's not like Harry's kind of a bit like real talk. Hermione's the strongest.
It's all coming together.
Yeah, is that making sense now?
It is sort of, but it still doesn't really.
No.
Like, it doesn't
Hermione's
really
the
answer
OG.
my question.
Hermione's the most powerful, just because she has studied the hardest. She has worked the hardest. Picture all of them are bodybuilders.
You know what? This is what I say to
Whoever
J.K.
works the
Rowling.
harder at
Okay,
it.
this is what I say to J.K. Rowling. Ready?
Come on over here. Come on over here. No, you flipped me off. Come on, coward. No. Come on. You're not an intellectual. You're a fake and a fraud.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie, she kind of might be. Harry Potter has pissed me off because after all the books came out, after all the movies came out, it was over, right? J.K. Rowling, that train had stopped for the last time. This fucking woman had put out hundreds and hundreds of more pages worth of details of aspects of the story that she had never even remotely related to as canon within the actual storyline. So she put out
Wasn't
stuff
she like, oh yeah, Dumbledore's gay? And Hermione's black and all
Dumbledore's
that
gay,
stuff.
and this is years after the storyline was initially
Yeah.
released, just to keep kind of changing the story to keep people intrigued. Given smart, I guess, you keep making your millions, girl. You do you. But
I don't know,
man,
I think it's in poor
I
taste,
see through your
just
bullshit.
changing it to be more inclusive. I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
You know?
No,
Like, yeah.
Okay, Dumbledore is the strongest wizard because he has the Elder Wand. The Elder Wand was the strongest wand ever created because it was crafted by Death himself in what was one of the 3 parts of the Deathly Hallows, gifted to 3 brothers a long, long time ago. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is what Harry Potter is. So I hope you enjoyed that, Aiden. For me, it's a big part of Christmas, all right? And I'd appreciate it if you would...
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! But not for me!
I like our singing
That
board.
was actually good. I like our meme board, too.
Yeah.
Who would win in a fight, a Jedi or a wizard?
Jedi.
I'm talking about Gandalf wizardry. Now you can't talk any beans.
Jedi, because I remember, like, I was like, okay, well, why don't they just use technology, you know?
The
And, like,
Jedis?
no, the wizards, you know?
Jedis have pretty good tech.
Like, I don't know, there's like a clock on the wall that tells the Ron family where all the Rons are, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, you can have a phone that does that, you know? Like, you know, like, there's just things in there that I'm like, why don't you just, you know?
It's actually really true.
Like, we have
man.
that, you know?
And it's so weird because they're in, like, modern England. They're
Yeah.
in modern Europe, but they're
someone
living in, like,
explained
the
to me
40s.
that the technology interferes or whatever with the magic. You know, you can't use technology around magic; it interferes with magic.
That
So
sounds like
wouldn't
kind of bullshit.
wouldn't a Jedi there with his lightsaber and his droid, wouldn't that just
make the
make
wizard
him just-
implode?
Yeah, like not work, non-functional.
That's the only reason they go to keep going back to the school that has so much shit happen every year is because it's the only place they can do magic. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. There's an actual video of like fan made of a Jedi versus Obi-Wan versus Harry Potter.
Yeah.
These 2 Australian guys, they do a lot of
Ronald
McDonald memes.
Raka Raka.
Yeah,
I
Raka
love
Raka.
them.
Those
They're
are
incredibly violent, but
incredibly violent, but they're so talented, man.
Oh, yeah, those guys are amazing.
They're twins? They're twins,
twins,
right?
yeah.
Fantastic.
Or they're not. It's just the one guy, and that's how good at After Effects he is.
That's what That's what I've always thought. Because
We're coming down to our last 3 minutes here.
Yeah, I wanna fry. I'm in the mood today where I need like comfort food, man.
Okay.
I might get a fry at some point from
Like fish and chips?
no, like McDonald's.
Oh, McDonald's.
That's like my guilty fry pleasure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now that I said fish and chips, I want fish and chips.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking of like some nice white trout, dipped in some friggin'
Yeah. The Ashton
searing
Pub
hot
in
grease.
Ottawa, near my farm.
Yeah.
So, okay, coming out of my driveway, right, you go left, that's where civilization is. That's where, like, Stittsville, Canada, whatever. You go right, there's the Ashton Pub. Just in the middle of nowhere, right?
Okay. It's like a sports bar and grill type of thing.
No, it's like I think it's a brew pub, like they brew alcohol there, but I think it's been there since like the 1700s.
Whoa.
Like it's been there forever.
That's
and
pretty cool.
It's inside. It's like this old school British pub, like the kind of like you can see the beams with the plaster in between, and they got all the scarves from the football teams from England up. And,
Yeah.
They got pictures of airplanes from World War II and stuff like that.
Oh, that's crazy.
But they have these crispy perch fillets, and the perch is caught in a little creek that runs by. Right by, yeah.
Oh my god.
And they make some pretty good beer too. And the beer is sold in parts of Ottawa, and you buy it there, you drink it there. But it's also started to get into like Loblaws and stuff in Ottawa.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
wicked, man.
It's good beer. I like their blueberry wheat beer.
Anything naturally produced, just locally and naturally produced, and straight from
Yeah.
land to plate is fantastic.
Oh yeah.
There's something to be said about I don't want to be crude or rude to any of our listeners that may be against hunting, but in my opinion, it's the most sustainable way to eat meat.
Last minute. You want to do
Last
goodbyes?
minute, yeah. We'll save that for another day. Everybody, thank you so much for listening. We hope that you had a good time during the last 50 minutes. Hope that the music was okay. Hope that you guys have a fantastic, warm, and heartfelt Christmas. Love your family. Be kind to everybody. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to others. Peace. We will see you next Wednesday.
Goodbye, everybody. Merry Christmas.